Hey everybody, well I'm back, and gosh, it was a great time out in Seattle. There was just so much information over those couple of days at the Real Estate Success Rocks 2015 conference, and just a lot of great information. Of course, as you know, I didn't get in until like 5:08 this morning, so I'm operating on not very much sleep. But it's all good, and of course, as you probably saw on Facebook, goofball me, I somehow left my phone in the Lyft driver's car, and luckily Lyft was able to get a hold of him, but not before I had to already take off. So he is going to go ahead and FedEx me the phone, and it's really weird how you don't realize how much you rely on your phone and how panicked you get when you don't have it. But it was definitely a wake-up call. I mean, I feel like I've broken up. But it's an odd feeling, and I'm sure my phone's very happy. It's got a little break here where for a couple days it's not getting overutilized constantly throughout the day and underappreciated, and then now it gets to come back to Indianapolis in this nice luxury FedEx package. So I can see it. It's on our next anniversary, it'll be looking back and saying, "I can't believe you left me in the car." But anyway, it'll be good to have that back and feel like I'm back in the swing of things. So I have actually brought each of you a little gift. It's a little stress ball that you might find funny. I originally was going to give it to you at Halloween, but you can pick out the color you want. But it's to not lose our heads during stressful transactions and definitely not bug out. So anyway, there's one for each of you, and they're laying out here on the file cabinet, so just pick whatever color you like, and I thought they were pretty cute. But back to the conference. Well, actually, before we get to the conference, I want to tell you guys, wow, what a great job everybody has done during these last several days. I mean, Rain has knocked out 2 incredible sales with a client, and then Johnny, got into contract with a gal that we've been working with for a while. He sold her house for her, and she's been in an apartment for a while, but and then I know the rest of you are all busy working on things, and so I'm so proud of all of you because you really are doing a great job. And when we get here into some of the content of what I learned during the weekend, I want to specifically point out how you guys shine above so many others that are out there in our industry. But I think most of you have seen Lee Brown. So I think you're fans of hers, and she was one of the speakers that was at the conference this weekend. And, when Lee was talking about how many uneducated agents there are out there, how many part-time agents there are that the only time you can get a hold of them is when they're on a break from their other job, it really shows just the level of commitment and service that a full-time agent like yourselves can provide to clients, and how much more of a value that should be to anybody who's out there who's looking to sell or buy a home. And she said, yes, some of those people are going to be successful. The quote she used, and I'm sure you can hear these words coming out of her mouth, but it was, "Even a blind pig can find an acorn." So she just suggested that we go ahead and help these new agents take charge, so that the transaction doesn't get messy or sloppy. Don't be afraid to take charge and do it in a helpful way, because you never know. There was an example where one of the agents came back and said, "You know what, I saw a whole different standard when I worked with that particular agent in the example that she used, and it made a big impact on that person in their own career, and a different commitment to and dedication to being a better agent themselves." The people on the panel talked about how there is no house that is not sellable at the right price. So we've got a lot of houses out there that of course the sellers think that they're worth so much more, but if nobody is buying that house, then it's got to be the ultimate issue is the price, because price price will overcome any objection. And if you ask a person, hey, would you buy this house at $1? Most everybody that you would ask that question would be sure. So the trick is finding the difference between what a person would buy it at and what it's listed at. And granted, you're not going to go all the way down to $1, but you got to find in between there. The market will speak. Even if a house might appraise for a certain amount, if the market isn't out there to buy it, if they're not interested in it, then its true market value is less than what it could possibly appraise at. And of course, I know sellers would want to get the full appraised value, but then again, in this market we are at right now, where things have really heated up, especially downtown, there are buyers that are willing to pay more than the appraised value. So sometimes it's a matter of just explaining these different points of view to sellers so they can see these different perspectives. Lee said that she actually has been showing up to appraisals or calling the appraiser in advance of the appraisal and saying, hey, what information can I provide you with? She knows that these appraisers are really overwhelmed with work a lot of times, and the easier we can make their job, the better and more likely it is that we will get the best appraisal that we possibly can. So she's providing them bullet points and even comps to help them with their job. It doesn't mean that they'll always come in at what she's provided to them, but at least she knows that she tried to help them out, tried to work it in a way that would help get the best appraisal that they possibly could. But the panelists were saying, keep in mind, it is their home, it is the seller's home, but it's your listing. You should be able to take charge and be the one that is leading them through these steps and explaining and talking about the market. And don't be afraid if you've got a client that is just it's not working out, they're not respecting you, they're not listening to you. There is nothing wrong with firing a client, letting them go. One of the ladies on the panel said that she's got 3 criteria, basically, that she will ask herself when she's taken a listing. Number 1, does she think that she will like and get along with the seller? Number 2, does she think that she can actually help the seller? And number 3, at the end of the day, after everything is all done, will that seller appreciate her for what she did? So sometimes I think we are so excited about getting a listing that sometimes we'll take a lot of listings that maybe are not the best, thinking we might be able to salvage that relationship or help that seller, and a lot of times we can create some frustration for ourselves. So probably in our team kickoff meeting in January, we'll examine that a little further. Inspections. Everybody on the panel agreed that in this day and age, the main thing that's been gumming up and messing up a lot of our transactions has been the inspection process. And it just muddies it up. It makes it more difficult than it probably needs to be. Agents aren't setting expectations with their buyers. Buyers are expecting everything under the sun to be done. And so they were really suggesting we get on top of that. And when we're working with buyers, going over that language very carefully so that they know up front what it is that they should be concerned with. And on the other side of the coin, they've been suggesting that sellers have a pre-inspection done, or rather a pre-listing inspection, so that they know up front, what it is that they're looking at. In the past, we always tried to avoid that because it seemed like a double cost, a cost for the seller, a cost for the buyer. But maybe it's best to know in advance what it is that might be coming up so that it's not a surprise when the inspection is actually done. And I think several of you could agree that we've probably had some listings that had a pre-inspection been done, we probably could have made all of our lives a little bit easier than when we found out at the buyer's inspection what really was going on with a particular property. So keep that in mind. NAR suggests that the averages are that for every 10 showings, a house will get 1 offer. and they're basically saying if a house is not getting any offers at all, or it's gotten 10 showings and no offers, then it's the price that needs to be adjusted. Price will overcome any objection, whether it's on a busy street, whether the paint's ugly, where it's not updated. Price is ultimately what will sell the house. And we go back to that example of, are there buyers out there that will buy a house for $1? Sure, probably almost anybody out there would say, I'll take that house for $1. But we got to figure out where is that optimal line where the seller will get the most they possibly can, but is not overpriced in the market. One of the other presenters made a really funny quote, and I thought this was great to share with you guys, but she said, never argue with an idiot, because the people who are watching will never figure out who the idiot is. So I thought that was pretty funny. There was a suggestion that that when we do these two-step listing appointments, that we actually get the seller to come in for the second appointment. We make the first appointment where we've gone through the house, we're doing a tour, we're taking notes, we're establishing rapport. But the second appointment, getting them to come in like we get buyers to come in, and sitting down and having a professional examination of market data and looking over reports and so forth. And I think that's a good idea, and I think we should talk about that more and see what you guys think about that philosophy that was suggested. Another thing that they suggested, telling clients, because everybody who was at this conference is a high producer, and you guys know that every year we get a MyBor ranking of how many transactions each agent has had, and we always rank in the like top 10%, actually usually the top 5% of all agents in the MyBor MLS. And one phrase or dialogue that they suggested that we use with sellers is, you know, it's not going to cost you anything more to hire an agent who ranks in the top, they use the example, 10% of local agents. So why wouldn't you hire our team? You know, they've got a whole bunch of people, probably people they know, but if they're thinking that they want to optimize their sales experience, yeah, why not hire people that rank in the top? They said that 80% of people are viewing texts over emails. They suggested that when we're responding to a text, maybe even these text writer requests that come in, is that we actually send a short 30-second video to the people where they can actually see us and we respond. We're supposed to use their name. Of course, with those text writer requests, all we have is a number at that point, and say something like, hey, we just saw that you, texted for some information on the house at whatever address. I'm going to give you a call here in about, 10 minutes and give you some more details about that. But they'll open that text according to the statistics, see the video, and then they've already established a connection with you, because instead of just, this texting that's showing up on their screen, they're actually seeing a live person, somebody that they can relate to more. They suggested that we should be calling our sphere of influence. We probably don't utilize that sphere well enough. We already know that our statistics are that about 76% of our business comes from our sphere, but they said, reach out, call these people, especially the ones that you haven't talked to for a while. And there are 3 reasons why. The first is they may need our help. The second is they might know somebody who needs our help. Or number 3 is it's just a good way to strengthen that relationship. They said that people, on average, move every 7 years. Now, we know in our area that probably is an average. Might be a little bit more here, I'm not sure. But they said, look at how many people are in your database and figure out if people are indeed moving every 7 years, how many possible transactions are we missing out on where maybe even in your own sphere, those people are using somebody else. So I know in my own sphere, I've got a little over 1,100 people. And if we suggest that maybe 80% of those people might fall into that 7-year category, and that's a pretty generous percentage probably, but that's about 915 people. And if we say, well, of 915 people, if they're moving every 7 years, if we divide that figure by 7 years, that means that every year I have a potential 130 people in that sphere that might be looking to buy or sell a house. And that's more than the production that we've been doing as an entire team. So they're really suggesting that we strategize and examine our sphere and make sure that we really are optimizing it to the best of our ability. So that's really it. I'm sure we'll have more details to share as time goes on. I've got more notes to go through, and I think I'll incorporate a lot of what we have learned at the conference into our January kickoff meeting. So sorry this video has been longer than normal, but I just really had a lot to share with you, and I'm really excited about it all. So have a great evening, everybody, and I'll look forward to talking with you later. Bye-bye.